because I'm not a zombie anymore." "What are you, then?" Sylvia inquired. "A princess?" Caroline looked mildly affronted. "No," she said emphatically, her blonde curls bouncing as she shook her head. "I'm a vampire slayer." "Of course. How foolish of me." Sylvia raised her eyebrows at James. "Well, it seems to me that if you're a vampire, and she's a vampire slayer—" James yelped and bolted away, the black cape of his old Halloween costume streaming behind him as he raced up the stairs as fast as his little legs could go. With a shriek of delight, Caroline set off in pursuit. Smiling, Sylvia watched the twins hurtle up both flights of stairs and disappear down the third-floor hallway. The playroom door slammed, startling her so that she nearly dropped the teacup after all. Cradling it in her palms, she shook her head, sighed more in amusement than exasperation, and continued on to the kitchen, where several of her dearest friends awaited her. Friends. Such a simple word, defined differently by everyone who used it. No single word of any definition could encompass all that the Elm Creek Quilters meant to Sylvia. In the 12 years since she had returned to the small rural town of Waterford, Pennsylvania, to accept responsibility for her family's estate upon her elder sister's death, the women gathered in the kitchen had become Sylvia's colleagues and confidants, her apprentices and her advisors. But more than that, they had become her family. The sound of their laughter and the aroma of cinnamon-roasted apples drifted down the hallway toward her, and she quickened her pace, eager to find out what amused them so. Surely they weren't laughing at poor, beleaguered Sarah, who had been engaged in a frenzy of cooking and baking since early that morning. In the spirit of Quilt's Giving, their annual winter camp session devoted to creating quilts for charity, Sarah had valiantly offered to take charge of preparing delicious meals befitting Elm Creek Quilt Camp's sterling reputation for themselves and their 24 guests. Her friends eagerly and gratefully allowed Sarah to take the lead, although they had assured her they would pitch in if needed. When Sylvia entered the kitchen, she found her friends doing exactly that. Stout Gwen, her gray-streaked auburn hair falling in a heavy curtain down her back, briskly chopped vegetables and, with a dramatic swirl of long batik skirts and the clinking of beaded necklaces, turned to slide them from the cutting board into a large stock pot bubbling on the stovetop. She was a professor of American Studies at nearby Waterford College and the mother of another founding Elm Creek quilter, Summer, a graduate student at the University of Chicago. "One of these years I'll join you for Quilt's Giving," Summer had said wistfully during her holiday phone call. "Maybe when I've finished my dissertation. I'll be with you in spirit." Of course she would be, Summer and their other dear friends who had left their circle of quilters, but whose hearts remained at Elm Creek Manor. Bonnie, who had moved to Maui to run a quilters' retreat and was engaged to a handsome Hawaiian. Judy, who had moved away to accept her dream job as a professor of computer engineering at the University of Pennsylvania, and Anna, their former chef, who had once ruled over the kitchen with kindness, generosity, and impressive skill. It had been at Anna's urging that Sylvia had agreed to install the dishwasher from which Maggie took clean plates and cups, her elegant hands graceful and assured. As she stacked the dishes in a nearby cupboard, a tortoiseshell barrette kept her long waves of light brown hair from falling into her oval face. At 43, Maggie was their newest teacher, but not their youngest, although her coltish slenderness, the sprinkling of freckles across her nose and cheeks, and the shy cast to her soft hazel eyes often made her seem much younger. When Maggie glanced at the clock above the stove and sighed, Sylvia noted that it was almost time for Maggie's daily phone call from Russell, her long-distance boyfriend. He was coming to visit later that week, and Sylvia suspected that Maggie was already counting the hours until his arrival. On the other side of the kitchen, Diane, tall and blonde and admirably fit for a mother of 2 grown sons,
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.